How do you plan to use your position to connect with members?
I intend to not only use Slack, but also use alternate messaging platforms, maybe even Instagram or iMessages, and then Slack and through emails.
Yeah, I think for me, a big thing is just being accessible, even in person. And so, even outside of Slack or anything else, and I want to be someone that Kasamas can approach and come to with any of their concerns, but not just in concerns. Even if they just want to talk to me about anything or just anything that's going on, I want to be someone who they can come up to, just be comfortable enough to have that conversation.
I think I'd also err on more so of a balance of both, because not everyone's schedules necessarily line up with one another. So being able to make myself available, whether it's an in-person conversation or through social media, Slack, whatever digital platforms there are as well, just being able to have a balance as well.
I can use the advantage of Slack to be able to notify all the third years, and also when I'm participating in events, I will be able to know who's the active members and who don't usually go to events, and I can take that chance to connect to them on a deeper level.
Being a rep is an introduction to being active on eBoard, but it is often labeled and assumed to just be an easy position. How will you work beyond this position and stay active in supporting your fellow reps and also eBoard members as well as membership? I can say the question.
Can you say it again, please?
Being a rep is an introduction to being active on eBoard, but it is often labeled as easy. How will you work beyond this position and stay active in supporting your fellow reps, eBoard members, as well as membership?
Can I take this one? So that's a good question. I think for me, I've always looked at the rep position as the connective tissue of executive board. The weight of in terms of the task that you have to do isn't as much as other named positions, but you still have an important role to be a bridge, as I said, between your class year and executive board, and general membership and executive board. I think it's important to just continue to have access, to be approachable to general membership, and to just continue to support anyone who else is on the board. If there's any events that need help planning, if there's anything that we need booked and we need done, eBoard is like a huge machine and you're part of it. And you need to make sure that for it to run, you're still a necessary part of it. So I think for me personally, I just go out of my way to make sure that all of my peers are supported in anything that they want. If there's any events, if there's anything they need set up, just being available, either on campus or just being available to help them out if they're planning anything like that.
I believe that the reps, although their workload may be smaller than other positions, I believe there's still everyone on keyboard is needed. They need to do their role. And in terms of addition to that, I think what I want to do is connect more specifically with other reps to more, like I said earlier in my speech, bridge gaps between upper and lower classes, because college is a tough journey, and it's always better to have those people who are both older and younger than us share experiences and help guide each other through. So specifically, I think the reps should more so bridge towards other class levels, not just their own class at eBoard.
I think adding on to what they both said, I kind of see it as starting a connection within eBoard, mainly because a lot of them are upperclassmen and have that experience, so being able to communicate with them first and really establishing connections with them, I think will help. They can help you help guide the reps into ideas, suggestions, advice, or simple conversations, and just really helping them, I guess, kind of guide our growth, but also being able to help us interact more with membership in general. And I think being able to grow that connection with them would help us as reps be able to further establish connections with the membership.
Something that I always thought about is that the first step is showing up. You took this commitment, and just because it may be a lesser workload than other positions, doesn't mean you should take it for granted. For me, I think that the executive board isn't like separate positions, rather we are a whole team. And because of that, these connections matter. And knowing that, I will try my best to work together.
Okay, Sydney is raising her hand.
Yes.
Okay, Sydney will speak fine.
Okay. My question is, what does being a Kasama rep mean to you?
To be just approachable by not only your class but Gen membership in general, because I believe especially as a representative, you're supposed to be the voice of your class, and being part of being that voice means you need to be able to make sure people are comfortable talking to you about concerns or questions or anything. And I feel like that being approachable is the first step towards that.
I think that the Kasama rep is the first point of contact when you have any problem or concern. And as Andrew said, being approachable is very important because you want to be able to create that safe environment for people to feel welcome and know that they can count and trust them.
I see it in a way that not only are you a bridge between membership to the e-board or membership through the reps, or to the reps rather, but I kind of see it as being predominantly or just a sibling, because on top of being approachable, you want to establish a bond with Kasamas. Like, that's a goal that many of us may have in mind when joining Kasama, is finding that person that you can really lean on, whether it's a friendship or like a sibling type of relationship as well. I think being able to bond through common experiences and being able to share that with someone, and really being able to have someone in the board as a sibling may also be beneficial to many, if not all of us.
Everything we said was really good. But I think one thing that I think about for being a Kasama rep is, given the position, I would try to strive to be the best Kasamahan member I could be personally, and try to be an example for any person or any people who is looking to be more active in the org, and show them like, oh, this is how I feel about this. This is how passionate I am about this. I think not only in being a representative are you just the liaison between executive board and gym membership, you should also try to exemplify the best of membership, I guess.
In part of the rep role is to hold your own class event or a collaboration or just some sort of event that you help plan on your own. In the past, some reps have been unable to find the time to host this event. And although you might not know what class event you want to do next year, what is your plan to execute a class event on your own in a timely manner that respects the rest of the Kasama schedule?
So in terms of like finding time to plan an event, like planning events isn't always the easiest thing. So, and especially with a whole class, or even if you're not trying to just do your class, just do multiple classes, like I think it'll be sometimes a lot easier to do it in the beginning of a semester when classes haven't ramped up more. So I would, an idea is to like, in the past we've done content X buff events I think context, like a class event would be good, where you could just meet representatives, you can meet each other, and then come together as a whole Gen membership and connect, which is kind of what Coffee is all about.
Just kind of building on what Andrew said, I think integrating these class events within already pre-planned things, because this already is on a very tight schedule, and we have things like Kata, and we have things like FG that are already set in stone that will take up a huge time commitment just to plan. And so maybe making it easier on like the other people on the board who are working on these things by just integrating it within those schedules and probably make it easier, because again, as Andrew said, we're not all on the same schedule, we're not all on the same time plan. And that it's just important to kind of hold these events to give incentive to these class series for building those connections and showing their interest and showing their passion in the organization.
I think building off what they both said, communication is going to be the key to really establishing any type of event or like anything that you want to have. And so being able to, plan for these events and stuff like that starts with communicating with your co-class or, whoever you want to center your event on. And I think really getting feedback from, your peers, from whether it's membership or whether it's just within your class, getting that feedback first can really help you establish how you want to plan things and how, as a rep, you want to personally reach out to whoever you need or getting resources. Really scheduling that, because scheduling, yes, is important, and it's most definitely something what your peers also have to say about it as well. You don't really know what direction or what where you want to guide yourself in that sense. So communication with peers, co-classmates, whatever. I think that's really the key to being able to plan something very thoroughly and being able to execute it efficiently.
I think one of the most important things is being able to plan ahead, because these events take time. You first need to reserve a room and get the layout of the room, as well as get other things that you may need for that event. And you also need to take into account the other events that are happening maybe in the same week or maybe the other week. So being able to communicate with your fellow board members is very important, because you also need their help as well. This isn't a solo thing. Even though it may seem like it, you still need some sort of teamwork for it to be able to work. And yeah.
As a Kasama rep, you would need to communicate a lot with your class. What do you think is the biggest concern that your class have right now, and how do you plan on addressing it if you do have one?
Could you repeat the question about it, please?
Yeah, of course. Being a Kasama rep takes a lot of communication with your current class. By now, I feel like you guys would have gotten a temperature check on like what your class's biggest concern is. How do you plan on addressing it and or finding a solution for it?
I think that one of the biggest concerns for my class is members being active. And I think something that I can do to maybe help it, or at least push it to a more positive direction, is by using Slack more, which I admit is something that I didn't use that effectively during my time. But knowing that, it will allow me to plan ahead and know that, and be able to use it as a method of fixing this problem.
And in terms of an activity for the freshman class, I feel like as a representative, I would try and plan bonding events of various different interests, such as like we had some reps will do like movie nights and game nights. Like I was thinking like as a representative, we want to widen like that scope to bring a bunch of people with different interests and various hobbies together. And I feel like that could, and communicating that using Slack as well, and reinforcing that communication as well is very important and a very good step in the right direction.
I think a big thing for me that I noticed, at least as I started being active in this organization, is that like the attendance to the more cultural, like more events like martial law teaching and these more like heavier, I guess, topics aren't really like as good as I think they should be. And so I think as a third year rep, I would try to make sure, again, utilizing these communication channels and just also by word of mouth, just try to let the people of my class, not just my class, people, gen membership as a whole, understand that Kasamahan isn't just an org that, while it does celebrate our culture and the nuances of our culture, the ugly stuff is part of it, and the hard stuff is part of it, the heavy stuff is part of it. And so just, I think for me at least, I would put more of an effort into trying to get people to come to these events, because for me at least, they've really taught me a lot about the situations happening, even as someone who's from the Philippines. And just in terms of educating myself, so I would try to make that more something that we should do.
I think just adding on to what everyone has already mentioned, just for at least the first years, because we're stepping into college and trying to figure out how to adjust our schedules and really where we want to like join or like what ideas and passions we have, being able to not only increase activity but also understanding that our schedules are going to conflict. I mean, it's inevitable. Just communicating more about like ideas or certain events, or asking my fellow rising second years what they think of certain ideas, and really just getting their feedback, because it's them that's also going to want to be interested in these events and really just enjoying them, not just going to them just because, but being able to find the passions that my class has and really, I guess, embedding that into these events as well, just being able to give them something that will create a memory that will last for them, and just being able, not just through digital platforms, but also again making myself available in person and just really being able to interact with them.
There's only 2 more minutes left. Moni will ask his question, but just keep that in mind when we ask. We'll still give you all the chance. Before any answer, we'll still all give you a chance to answer.
So being a rep, you're part of a team. How do you plan to build and develop your teamwork amongst the, even especially having to conduct first year as well?
I think bonding events is a very special, very important thing. It's not something that just should be like overlooked as well, because if you can find time to connect as a group and as a team, it makes making harder decisions a lot easier, especially if you come together more with trust and teamwork. That's a great boost step.
I think even before bonding events, simply just interacting with each other on a more, I guess not necessarily daily basis, just more often outside of maybe a classroom or outside of Kasama events, really being able to get to know each other. And once you establish that relationship with someone outside of a classroom or an event, that trust will naturally slowly start to develop, and you essentially build that bond with that person. And it becomes easier to, as Andrew mentioned, plan bonding events with one another. And then the teamwork itself will also just be more natural, just because you have chemistry with your fellow members.
I think for me, the easiest way to get closer with someone is by having fun. So something I had in mind was maybe at the start of the term, we could go out for boba, get to know each other, because that will set up a sort of familiar. Thank you. That word with each other, and that will help us work easier, because we're friends first before reps.
Just to be concise, I think it's important to get to know your fellow KasamaReps outside of an e-board setting as well. While they are your coworkers, I guess, or your peers, they're also your friends. So I think it's just important of building that connection outside, because I understand, like I've played sports, I've played team sports, and the best teams spend a lot of time off the court. The best teams get dinner, get food after a game, and I've had just really good memories with that, and I've worked well with people, just spending time with them outside and getting to know them, just getting better understanding of them outside of the space.